Well, up until this point, we have been an Ontario-only podcast. Gary in Southampton, Lance in Waterloo, and myself in Chatham. And this week, we are truly going Canada-wide because, Lance, look at you. You're in Lethbridge, Alberta, visiting family. So we've gone truly national here. This is
my granddaughter's first birthday I was here for, so it's been a great time. She's had 2 parties already. I never even had one when I was 1 year old.
You've probably been the life of both of those parties, have you, Lance?
No, I'm a little older than most of them coming to the party.
Well, safe travels home, but this is just neat to have us covering more than one province here for the first time ever. And welcome to What Do You Know About Sports? If you're watching or listening, Randy Steinman, longtime sportscaster here. To my left, Gary Jeffries, longtime coach, and to my right, Lance Roberts, longtime referee. And some pretty cool things to talk about here this week, including just an amazing week in women's sports. And Gary, you wanted to take the lead on this and talk about some of the things, but starting with some basketball, we saw some real impressive women at the NBA All-Star Weekend.
Yeah, it was really cool. The skills competition for me was the highlight of the basketball All-Star Weekend, and then the challenge match between Steph Curry and Sabrina Ionescu, the girl from the New York Liberty in the Professional Women's League, and she's an outstanding shooter, and of course we all know about Steph and what he's done, but they had a match and prior to the 3-point competition, and Sabrina she took Curry like right to the finish line. And I believe she put up 26 points, and Steph, the pressure was on. He went next, and he put up 29. But Sabrina shot from the men's 3-point line. She had the option. She could have shot from the line that's a little bit closer. She didn't want to do that, so they both shot from the same line. It was amazing competition, and she, as it turned out, the 26 points that she scored, it tied the total of Damian Lillard, who won the 3-point competition. So she can fill it up, and it was a fun competition to watch.
You could see the respect that Steph had for her too. Like it was. He was quite amazed at what she did, and he really showed a lot of respect for her. I was really impressed with him with the way he handled it.
Yeah, once she got going, and it's the same with Steph. Once they get going, they can make a lot in a row. But it's kind of reminiscent going back to Billie Jean King and Bobby Riggs. When they faced off in that tennis match many years ago.
Yeah.
And Billie Jean, she's still a huge advocate for women's sports. She was front and center when that PWHL opened up in Toronto.
Yeah. Well, still with women's basketball, Caitlin Clark out of Iowa, who's really made a name for herself, especially it seems like in this past year. I mean, I hadn't heard a whole lot about Caitlin Clark up until this season, but she's been scoring at a record pace and setting all kinds of records. What a year for her.
Yeah, she just set the all-time scoring leader, or all-time scoring record in NCAA basketball, and I think at 3,500 and some odd points. The interesting thing is I don't think she was expected to set that record on the night that she did, but she went up and put up 49 points. 49 points that night to beat the record, and the winning shot, not the winning shot, but the shot that set the record. If you've seen it, it was from well outside the 3-point line. She let her go, and it was an outstanding shot and a great way to set the record.
I mean, Gary, you coached university women's basketball. What at that point? Help me again. What years were those?
Back in the 80s, 84 to 88 or 89, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, how would you compare? I mean, those girls that you would have coached were real pioneers, really, for women's basketball. I mean, that's been now 35 years ago. Compared to what women's basketball is today, it's come a long way.
Well, I think it has, and particularly with the 3-point line and the outside shooting, outside scoring. But our kids back then were pretty darn good, and the thing that no one recognized, and fortunately now it is being recognized across the board in all women's sports. But they're very, very skilled. And they play hard, and they practice hard, they compete hard, and I'm not sure a lot of people really recognize that, it got the girls label on it, and that's that's baloney. They play and compete and practice just as hard as the men do, and so we had a pretty good bunch back then, and we still get together. There's a whole whack of them that come to our golf tournament every year.
Yeah. Well, and it's great to see the crowds that they get, not only for, women's university basketball, but obviously the WNBA as well. And speaking of crowds, this little upstart league called the PWHL, Lance, what an amazing turnout in Toronto recently for a game between Toronto and Montreal with a crowd of more than 19,000.
There's like 19,000 there. Yeah, I mean, like I've been saying all along, that league is they're doing it right. They're doing it in the right way. They got a lot of support. But I mean, the fact that it's a short season, to be heading into playoffs soon, it's going to keep the excitement going. And they just keep getting stronger in that league. And there's been some great hockey played, I think, all around in regards to how they're playing. But the crowds are like there's some crowds in some cities outside of Toronto that game. They've all been really getting great crowds for their games. So yeah. The hockey's been really good. They get a little more physical at times than that, like I've been saying, but I think that product's going to be really great to watch, and they're getting a lot of good sponsorships. So I think they're doing the right stuff.
Yeah, Toronto won that game 3-0, and I think that they've moved up considerably in the standings. They're up near the top now, and I think that's important that Toronto be very competitive in that league. And the crowds are, and I think you're right, Lance. They're good right across the league, but they're particularly good in Canada. Yeah. Our three cities, they're filling it up every night. Minnesota has been really good. Some of the games I've watched from Boston and New York, not so much so, but I think overall they've exceeded all expectations, and it's really great to see.
The one thing I'm finding, like being out west here, is that there's nothing out west really to do with the PWHL, other than the fact that it's Toronto. So I think that I don't know how much momentum they have out here, out in the Western Canada, because it's kind of a bit more of an Eastern Canada, like sort of a Central Ontario thing, where like when anything like anything in our country in Canada, it all centers around Ontario and Toronto, Montreal, and stuff like that. So out west, it hasn't quite. I don't know if it has quite the excitement out here as it has in other centers. To be honest with you,
Lance, if that league were to expand out west, and hopefully it will, what would be the ideal Canadian city to start in? Do you think out west?
Probably Vancouver would be a good place to start. Because it does have the proximity to has a pretty big base out there. I think probably another good place to be would Edmonton. I mean, Edmonton is a hot hockey area, or Edmonton or Calgary. I think those would be the places to go.
Yeah, I think it's like the original six back in the NHL, and right now, and eventually, I'm sure that they expect that they will expand. They wanted to get it going. They, close proximity to each other in terms of travel, I think right now is important. But absolutely, they'd love to expand, and we'd certainly love to see more Canadian teams involved too.
Yeah. Well, for what it's worth, those girls who played in that Toronto-Montreal game at Scotiabank in front of 19,000 plus, what an experience that must have been. I was reading some post-game quotes where some of the players were saying it was way louder than Leafs games, which says a lot about the atmosphere.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that too is a younger crowd. It's not a lot of suits sitting there from in the corporate boxes. It's a lot of kids and younger people, and it's a lot of fun. They're in there and they're hooting and hollering, and so that's great. The atmosphere is tremendous.
Yeah. One of the things that it does is that it gives a lot of young girls, the vision of something that they would like to achieve themselves. I have a granddaughter that's playing hockey, and I know that she follows a little bit of it, but I don't know if she has the same atmosphere as if she would be in the East with the, it's a lot more predominant, in regards to young girls, what they're doing, and they're, going out and reaching out to young girls in different, levels of leagues of hockey for girls hockey. And I see her ability is so high. I got a little granddaughter too that also plays ringette, and I watched her play, and her skating is remarkable. So those are things that that are going to get better and better, and hopefully, if more exposure out west here, it'll give more young girls, the dream and the drive to become, maybe have an opportunity to play at that level someday.
Yeah. Lance, is that the 1-year-old that's already playing hockey?
No, she's not quite there yet. She has to get on skates. We'll toughen her up real quick. Don't worry.
Well, one other thing we want to talk about before we move on from this great week in women's sports is the Scotties Hearts, which is in Calgary this week. It's happening right now as we record this. But Jennifer Jones, it's sort of her farewell swan song, I guess. And what a great career she's had, Gary.
Yeah, she's just had an amazing career, and this is her last appearance. She's been to the Scotties 18 times, so she wins that province of Manitoba virtually every year, and she's won it 6 times. She's got an Olympic gold in Sochi in 2014. She's won a couple of world championships. And she's doing it this year with a new team. She's got a young crew this year, and I believe they won yesterday, and that makes them 4-0 right now at the Scotties. So yeah, she's certainly one of the best ever, and I'm sure those other curlers, however, out in Manitoba, they're glad as heck she's finally retiring.
Yeah,
and somebody else can represent that province in the future.
Yeah, it's a real. Sorry, Lance, go ahead.
I'm just saying that it's a long road for those girls to get to that Scotties. For one thing, I have a really good friend of mine out here west, and his daughter is pretty deep into competitive curling and has gotten close to getting to the Scotties. But it's a long road to get there. I mean, you got to play through a lot of different levels to get your chance to get to the Scotties, but the physical side of the things is in the Scotties for female curling and men's curling is sweeping. I mean, you watch those girls go with sweeping. They're very good at the technique of it and stuff. It's that's where the bread and butter is some nights with curling is in the sweepers. Yeah. And there's some strong sweepers in women curling.
Yeah. Well, a real testament though to someone like a Jen Jones who, despite the fact that she's with a new team and has been with new teammates over the years, as the skip, she's always been highly successful and right at the top of Canadian curling. And wow, what a testament that is to her, that you can give her new teammates. They sort of rotate through them every few years, and yet she still stays on top of her game. So good for her. I mean, clearly one of the greatest Canadian curlers ever.
Yeah, absolutely. She's a real competitor.
I think the other thing with her too, and you hear it when you hear the other curlers speak, but not just a great athlete and a great curler, but a great person, and that's so important as well.
Yeah, she's always come across as very genuine, And yeah, good for her. All right, well, let's move on. We've got some baseball to talk about. And hey, pitchers and catchers have reported in Florida and Arizona, including, of course, the Blue Jays. And I guess the one real story that's going to be interesting to see this year with the Jays is can Alek Manoah come back? Had that real successful year in 2022, struggled huge last year. And what's in store for Alek Manoah in 2024? What do you think, Gary?
Well, that's that's a big question for sure. The reports coming out early is he's gotten himself in shape. That there was some talk of part of the reason last year that he didn't have the success is he didn't come to camp in shape, but the guy's 6'5", 280 pounds, 275 pounds. He's a horse. But last year things just went sideways. He got beat up opening day, and it didn't get much better as the season went on. Got sent down to the Florida. I think it's called the Florida Complex League. He's playing against a bunch of kids down there, 18, 19-year-old kids. And he got batted around down there.
Yeah.
Came back for a little bit and got sent to Buffalo, and he didn't report. So last year was pretty much a write-off. So it's going to be really interesting to see. He's going to try and. Last year he was the opening day starter. This year he'll vie to be the number 5 starter on that staff with Gosman, Barrios, Bassett, and Kikuchi, and they need him. They need him in that rotation, but we'll see what happens.
Well, I don't know about Manoah. I mean, he's lost 30 pounds. He's got better shape. He's been working out and all those things, but I just don't know if he has the mind or his commitment to it or what it is. But I just found his attitude last year with the Jays really hurt. I think it had an effect on the Jays down the stretch a little bit in some ways, that he was around, he wouldn't go down and stuff like that. So I don't know how he'll make out this year. I'm not a big fan. I don't think that. I think you're right. He should be about 5th, and if he gets there, he'd be in 5th in the starting rotation if he makes it to the team. It's going to be interesting to see how his training camp goes for sure. I mean, hopefully he's got he gets his attitude better and he wants to really work hard at it. And I don't know if they could figure him out or not, but
yeah. I mean, they sure need him. But what an unbelievable fall it was for him from the 1 year. 2 years ago, he won 16 games. His earned run average was 2.24, which is just outstanding. And then last year, he went 3-9. He won 3 games, and his earned run average was 5.87, which is almost triple from the year before. So he very reminiscent. I don't know if you guys remember Ricky Romero.
That's right. Yeah.
Boy, I'm going to say 12 years ago. Very much the same, was an all-star pitcher around 2011, and then went from a great year to a very mediocre year to a year when he only appeared a couple times and never appeared again after, I don't think, 2013. He had both the knee issues and elbow issues, so he had some physical issues with him that I don't think was mental, where I suspect, and
more physical.
He was physical, and yeah, I suspect maybe Manoah, like you said, Lance, is a lot of it more is just attitude and mental.
Yeah.
In that first year, Manoah, he was pretty cocky. He'd stare down. I don't know if you watched him a little bit, but he'd stare down the batter, he did have an attitude. Excuse me. And he's runner up, I think, in the Cy Young, or he was up close in winning that thing. And then he comes back and he gets batted around early or hit around early. and I'm not sure he knew how to handle it. He went from one of the very best to he couldn't throw strikes, and that's a big thing with him. At 6'5", whatever we said, two in a bunch. He doesn't get it up there at 98 or 99. No. He's in the mid to low 90s, and so for him, he has to be able to throw, hit the corners, and control is imperative. And he just couldn't find a strike zone, and when he threw it over, they were hitting him. So that's a big thing for him, and he's got to get that attitude back a little bit. I think he quit on him. I don't know this. I didn't hear this. But when he got sent to Buffalo, I just think he refused to go.
Yeah.
And so he has to get that straightened out and find the plate this year in the spring.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the thing, is that he's got to get his attitude right, because he was a distraction towards down the stretch a little bit there. The one I'm looking forward to seeing playing this year, I hope he gets back, is Jensen. I hope they get him back, because he was a big plus towards the stretch at the end run there. But when he got hurt there, I think that hurt the Jays a lot, because I think he's a real leader in that clubhouse.
Yeah. Well, it'll be an interesting sidebar story to watch with the Jays this year, to see how Manoah responds and how much of a factor he's going to be with this team this year.
Just before we move off the baseball, the kid I'm really looking forward to see, and I hope gets an opportunity. Their number one pitching prospect's a kid named Ricky Tiedemann, and he gets it up there close to 100. And he's a kid that he's still young, but there's a spot there. If Manoah doesn't want to take that number 5 spot, I'd love to see Tiedemann get a shot.
Yeah. Well, it'll be a fun year. My favorite time of year right now is we're just heading into it. March and April, start of baseball season, end of winter, start of spring. Love it. So.
Hockey playoffs coming up.
Yeah. Oh, it's just a great time of year.
Yeah.
All right. Another topic we wanted to talk about here for a couple of weeks, and we've never really had the time, but we're going to do it today, is just sort of talk about our favorite sports movies of all time. If anyone is watching or listening and would like some ideas on neat sports movies to watch, we've all sort of brought a list of our top 3 to the table here. And Lance, what movies do you really like?
Well, I think my number one movie, I think, for sports movie has got to be Rudy, the young guy making it and getting his chance to play. I watch that movie, I still get tears in my eyes. I think it's amazing, coming out of Pittsburgh there and getting out of a steel mill and gets a great education. I think that's some of the messages set in that movie are tremendous. And at the end, when he finally gets on the field, is a great thing to watch. Is for a movie, if you want to see something that's heartwarming. And Bull Durham, I love that movie. I think that's one of the classics of all time when it comes to baseball. It shows so many funny things to do with baseball that you kind of watch. I love the dugout scene where they're all deciding on what to get them for her wedding and what they're dealing with and all that stuff. And when you watch that movie, watch how the assistant coach trots out to the mound with his hands in his pockets. He's got this little gait that he does, these little bounce. It is funny to watch. And he gets to the what are we doing here? And he goes, we're doing a lot of stuff here, he says. So it's you always had to wonder what they say in the mound, and that was quite funny. And then a lot of other situations in there with the pitcher and his different little synchronized things he was doing with his garter belt and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's a good movie to watch. And I also like Replacements, and that's kind of a true story where that happened with the Washington Redskins way back when they had them go on strike, and it's a playoff of that. And the thing about it is, it's interesting is watch the cheerleaders in that movie. It is hilarious what they're doing on the sidelines and stuff, and then they kick back to the football game, and I laugh my head off watching that. It is so funny. So that's my 3. I think the Replacements, I love watching that. Them coming, they get the chance to win and be a part of the the team. And the one guy that was the middle linebacker or something, or he played both sides of the field. I guess he was crazy. And yeah, that's a movie I'd also recommend to watch.
It doesn't surprise me that you were intrigued by the cheerleaders.
When you see those cheerleaders in that movie, they're hilarious. They're just it's funny as hell.
I got to admit, I've never seen the movie. I'll watch it.
No, I'm going to have to watch it now as well.
Yeah, if you see the cheerleaders, you guys give me a call. We'll be talking.
Okay.
Gary, how about you?
My three, a couple of them I think are classics from a long way back. Caddyshack. Caddyshack is one, as you said, you watched them so many times, and I watched Caddyshack so many times, Lance. Bill Murray and Rodney Dangerfield, Chevy Chase. It was one skit after another, one humorous skit after another, and so many times, on the golf course, we've used, some of the lines that that came out of that movie. That the hard stuff's not going to come down for a while yet. And the priest is out there on the green. He's having the round of his life, and he doesn't want to stop. And then the old guy and his wife out playing, and she poops one into the pond, and he goes, "Oh, that's a peach, hon." But anyhow, it's humor. The movies I enjoy, and actually with most of these sports movies, there's either humor or it's a comeback story. And I just love them both. The Longest Yard is another one.
Yep.
Burt Reynolds, rounding up the prisoners to put a football team together to play the guards, and again, funny. Ray Nitschke playing middle linebacker for the guards.
Yeah.
And Burt Reynolds drills him in the crotch with a pass. It just makes me laugh. It's just a fun movie to watch.
Yeah.
And then the other one is one I just watched recently, and it's called The Hill. And it's a true story about a ball player named Ricky Hill. He was disabled as a young person, and the battle he went through, and his goal was to be a professional baseball player. And he wouldn't let anything stand in his way, and against all odds, against his dad, who really wanted nothing to do with the kid going on and playing ball, and he got rid of the braces off his legs, and he made it. He played, I think, 3 or 4 years of professional baseball, and it's a really heartwarming story, and I recommend that if anybody hasn't seen it. It's on Netflix right now. So they're my three.
Yeah,
Bill Murray's hilarious in that one. That Caddyshack. I think Bill Murray really makes that movie run sometimes with him and that gopher that he had there.
Yeah.
At the end of it, he comes up, "I'm all right. What do you worry about me?"
Yeah. There were some great scenes in that movie. There certainly were.
Yeah. We just watched The Hill within the last couple of weeks here in our house too, and just a tremendous story. I'd be curious to know how truly accurate that was. But that aside, just a phenomenal story given the leg issues he had as a youngster. And when you said, Gary, he played 3 or 4 years in the pros. He played in the Expos organization. And Lance, I want to say he spent one of those years playing for an Expos farm team in Alberta somewhere.
Lethbridge has a double-A team here, so
yeah. Well, it was a low minor team, like
maybe
an
it was
A
the Trappers
team.
in Edmonton. Could have been, yeah.
Maybe something to look up. So anyway, so my three, sticking with baseball, 42, the Jackie Robinson story. Just love it. I mean, that's Jackie Robinson was just in that era for me, which was the golden era of baseball, the post-war, post-World War II, from 1946 to about 1960. That era for me is just the best there ever was for baseball, and that's when Jackie Robinson came on the scene and was a big part of baseball in the late 40s and 50s. But just a great story. The movie Slapshot, which came out in 1977, and I was just in high school, and I remember seeing Slapshot with friends when it came out, and thinking, it's kind of corny, and the guy skating around on the ice at the end, he's down to his underwear, and I thought, that's a little too cornball. But over the years, I've really just grown to appreciate that movie just for, I don't know, the almost the snapshot it was of hockey in the 70s. It's sort of what hockey was in the 70s, with the Flyers and the Broad Street Bullies and everything. That's kind of what hockey was. And for me, it just sort of takes me back now whenever I see that movie to what hockey was when I was in high school and through those great years. But love that, the Hanson brothers, and just, you talk about funny movies, Gary. There's just some funny, hilarious scenes when Paul Newman sticks his head in their hotel room and they're all playing with their little Hot Wheels cars or something. It's just hilarious. I love it. And my number one, without a doubt, is Field of Dreams, the baseball movie. Kevin Costner from 1989, I think. Kevin Costner, James Earl Jones. When I first watched that movie, when it was in the theater, I was actually disappointed, because I think I was hoping for more baseball. Like, I wanted to see more baseball of Shoeless Joe Jackson and players of that era that were in the movie, but it really wasn't so much about baseball as I had wanted. But as time has grown or gone by here in the last 35 years since that movie came out, just what that movie means to me sentimentally. And the scene at the end where Kevin Costner asks his dad, "Hey Dad, you want to have a catch?" I mean, it's just floodgates for me most of the time. I'm bawling by the end of that scene when I see it. So those are my three: Field of Dreams, Slapshot, and 42.
Well, going to Slapshot, the interesting thing about Slapshot that I kind of look at in that movie was dreamed up by a lady in a game she was at in Utica, New York. That's where it came from. She wrote the playwright for watching a game there. I think they went into the stands or something at the time they were playing. I think it was called the Mohawk Valley Comets, were playing in the East Coast Hockey League. Because one of my first games as a pro, I got sent to go to Mohawk Valley for the Comets, Mohawk Valley Comets, for one of my games. So I went to Utica, and I went to this Mohawk Valley Comets in Utica, playing a game there, and I went to referee the game there, and it was pretty vicious hockey. It was pretty interesting. I remember after I called about the 5th or 6th or 7th slashing penalty in the first 10 minutes of the hockey game, this guy, he skated up to me and he goes, "Who are you?" And I go, "I'm Lance Roberts." He goes, "Well, we never had a real referee before," and he skated away. And I thought, this is going to be fun the rest of this game. So, but it was pretty rugged hockey in there, I'll tell you. And she got her idea for this what you call it, movie, from that, being in a game in that building in Utica. And it's part of it too. That's interesting in that movie is that one of the Hanson brothers, I can't remember the player's name now out of that Hanson brothers, but he played in Baltimore. One of the brothers there, one of the guys that was, well, he wasn't, they weren't all brothers, but one of them played in Baltimore under Gene Ubriaco. I remember being in Rochester one night, and this clown brought me out the rule book one time to the center ice to see if I'd read the rule book or not. And I took it to the penalty box and said, "Well, I'll tell you what, you sit there and read that thing for 10 minutes. Okay, you got 10. So anyways, it was kind of funny, but all the kind of connection to that slap shot wasn't just a movie out of the blue. This thing took time to put together, and they even had some real hockey players in that movie.
Yeah. Well,
I love all the movies that you guys have mentioned. I think they're great, and there's so many of them. For me, an honorable mention would be The Underdog. I don't know if you watched the Kurt Warner story.
I saw that one. Yeah.
NFL quarterback, and how he barely played in college and went on and won the Super Bowl and Hall of Fame career. So that's another great one that I really enjoyed.
He was working on a shopping mart or something like that.
Yeah.
No, there's some great ones, but boy, when you sort of pick through them all and find your favorites that you can watch time and time again, it's a lot of fun. Hey, we just got a couple of minutes here, guys, but I know Gary, you wanted to just touch real quickly on the PGA tournament at Riviera this past weekend. It was sort of Tiger Woods' return, which was very short-lived because he left in round 2 with the flu, but also just a great showing by Canadians, as 5 Canadians finished in the top 40. Yeah,
that's a thing that, Tiger's story, Tiger's always going to be a story when he shows up. It was his tournament. He hosts that one, the Genesis, at Riviera, and it was too bad that he had to withdraw. But the story for me certainly were the Canadian kids, and coming off the week before where Nick Taylor won.
Mm-hmm.
We come right back the next week, and as you said, 5 kids in the top 40. Adam Hadwin has a big final round and ends up tie for 5th, I believe. Shot 65 the final day. So Canadians right across the international sports scene right now. We're making our mark, and I'd love it. I'd love to see it.
Yeah. And one last thing.
Canadian fans are looking good too when they go to those things with their flags and they get hammered and everything. That's kind of fun to watch there too. But how long do you think Tiger has? Like how long is he going to play?
Oh,
I don't. The guys he's pieced together. I don't know. I don't know how much longer he has, and I don't want to see him go to the point where he's he's not making cuts and he just looks so disabled that he can't. I'd like to see him get out of it before it gets to that point, and I think it's it's probably getting reasonably close to that. Fused ankle, fused back.
Yeah.
I think he's 48 years old, so I don't see him myself playing on the Champions Tour when he turns 50. I think that he'll gracefully bow out here in the next couple of years.
Yeah. Yeah, Tiger.
I didn't hear much about the Viv Tour either. Over the whole, are they still going? I haven't heard a thing about them.
Oh yeah, they're still. They only play 15 tournaments, so they.
Okay.
It's not like they're out there all the time. They, no, I don't really care.
That's true.
Actually, one lasting thing about Canadians from that tournament last weekend was the Mackenzie Hughes walk and talk. I don't know if you saw that with Jim Nantz, where he was talking about playing pro golf on the PGA Tour for the love of the game, and it's not about the money. And it was clearly sort of a veiled shot at the Live Tour, but boy, Mackenzie Hughes was just. It was just, he was so eloquent for about a minute and a half there with Jim Nantz. It was outstanding.
It was spot on. I did see it, and I thought the kid did a great job, and just how proud he is to have made the PGA Tour and be able to go out there and compete against some of the best in the world every week, and he did a one, and to do that while you're playing, like it was as he's walking to his next shot, and I think Nance and the announcers there, that they were really impressed with the kid. You could tell.
Yeah, it was great. It was great TV.
Yeah.
All right, fellas, we're out of time. Boy, it goes by quick, but thanks so much again. Lance, have a great visit with your family out there, and safe travels back to Ontario.
Thanks. Yeah, I'll be back Thursday. Yeah, we'll have some more fun with the little ones and my grandkids. It's great when you get a chance to spend some time, for sure.
Very good.
Enjoy, Lance.
Thanks, guys.
Have a great week.